Hello Friday, my favorite friend. This is The Week That Was, with me, your host, Simon Brown. I'm joined by Vestact's Khumalo, Chantal Marx from FNB Wealth and Investments. US CPI, jobs data last week, kind of sweet and sour, but all of it kind of nice. And markets are going higher.
Yeah, so I mean, the CPI print was slightly hotter than expected, but I think the detail is important. Shelter, which has been so sticky, those prices over the last couple of years, has finally started coming down a little bit. And I think that gives me more hope than anything else. And then the jobs data was a little bit soft. So I think it tells us that we're going to get that 25 basis point cut in November, another one in December, and then we'll see what happens next year.
Did you read the FOMC minutes or just me?
Just you.
Okay. Did you read the FOMC minutes?
You know I never read those things, man.
Yeah, it's really weird. They don't name names. They like said many people, some people. It was like anyway. But I mean, markets are, I mean, NVIDIA is on track to have its best weekly close ever. It's
crazy. NVIDIA in the past 16 days is up north of 36%. And NVIDIA has been the best performing stock of 2024, of course.
And 3 and 2 and 1.
No, I'm saying there are other stocks now like Palantir and the likes. But I mean, if you've been compared to Palantir, go figure, right? That's how well you're doing. You've been compared to a very small company in returns. But yeah, so I don't know. NVIDIA seems to be, even on the red days this week and last week, they've just slowly just been gaining 1% here, 4% there, 3% there, and now it's adding up.
Yeah, so no big moves. Even my little CrowdStrike, which got kneecapped in mid-year.
That's up 34% since August.
Yeah.
There you go, since
Let's
August.
see, it was up 50% and then it got collapsed. Are you on the NVIDIA bandwagon?
I definitely was at the start of the year. I think it's moved a little bit ahead of itself right now. I think one of the things that I'm a little bit concerned about is even though it's got this big thematic structural support from AI, semiconductors are still very cyclical. So I'm thinking that it's just something to keep in mind. Its valuation doesn't look demanding relative to history, but it is getting like up there now. And for a cyclical stock, just a little bit more cautious now, but yeah.
It's a networking company now, it's not a semiconductor company.
I don't know, I mean...
AMD, on the other hand, did you see they released a new amazing, 10 out of 10 chip, according to them.
According to them?
Yeah, the market didn't like it, down 6%.
Yeah, no, I don't, but we need David back because we've never had negative video on this show before. You come here with sense.
I'm a cautious NVIDIA, but I mean, I'm still holding the stock.
You know the idea, we have the old and the brave, and then we have David, who's old and brave. He's a complete mess, and one day he'll be back. Also making news this week, Sibanye loses in court, and the judge's name is Butcher. Most of the Nobel Prizes have been awarded this week. How to Make Me Feel Not Smart at All. Tyla drops her new debut album today, this morning. McDonald's says beef farmers are screwing them. Shwani gets a new mayor and probably going to get screwed too. Hurricane Milton is a major and destructive hurricane. RIP Pastor Ray McCauley and Judge William Heath. Musk pays his Brazilian fine, but into the wrong bank account. Afrimat disappoints, Calgary M3 doesn't, and Tesla launches their robo-taxi. We've heard that before. It looks pretty, but does it work? But let's start with the most depressing human thing that we do, and that is war. It is our worst achievement. Monday was a year since the attacks on Israel. The Ukraine war is now 2.5 years old. Here's Martin Ackerman, Citadel's chief economist, on both the Middle East and European wars.
You know, if we think Russia, Ukraine, both those countries are bigger commodity players globally. So when that happened, you know, Ukraine, major grain exporter, sunflower, Russia, obviously oil and gas. So much bigger supply shock to the world. And you know, that's why we had the inflation shock that we've been fighting for the last 2 years. So markets on that kind of outbreak really reacted quite negatively, concerned about global supply around those commodities. This time around, you know, we, like you said, a year down the line, if you look at markets are at an all-time high. The only thing that's showing that there's a little bit of concern is the gold price.
He makes a good point, and let's state right up front. I mean, war is tragic, and there are deaths galore, and it is an absolute horror. I can't believe we sit here in 2024 and we still resolve problems by war.
And there's some people who support it because they believe in something, whatever. Anyways.
But he's right in that you got to say, if I told you 3 years ago, hey, at the end of 2024, we're going to have war in Europe and war in the Middle East, And at the same time, we're going to have oil at sub 80, and we've got...
I would have laughed at you, especially about oil. I don't like oil.
And the inflation...
I'm not an oil hater, but
sure.
like, it's so funny when people are so bullish on oil. I'm like, what do you know, dude?
Is this because we've... No, it can't be because we're immune to it, because there is... I mean, there was the wheat problem. The oil spiked on the initial invasion. Occasionally when Iran gets involved. Is it almost saying to us, man, this economy is actually so strong that it can take 2 significant wars and kind of shrug it off?
I think that the US economy is strong enough to shrug it off, and I think perhaps that's what's supporting the rest of the world right now. And even though there is softness in China, and I think that the softness in China really is contributing to the weakness in the oil price, considering where it should be trading amid 2 wars. But I think that they're still expanding. They're not in recession or anything like that. So I think that because these 2 big economies are still expanding, Japan being one of the largest economies in the world is also actually picking up a little bit. All of these things are sustaining global economic growth. The oil price thing, as I mentioned, I think it's a function of China being under a little bit of pressure and concerns that demand there won't pick up meaningfully over the medium term. And then also the fact that we are starting to replace oil.
Yeah, no, fair point. Yeah, no, finally kind of moving away from it. And also perhaps Russia, who probably just cheating on their OPEC quota left, right and centre.
Definitely. And then you also have Saudi with a lot of oil that they're not actually putting out there because they don't have to.
Yeah, look, the Russia story and its oil ending up in Europe will always be the funny one for me. I mean, this country is, you know, burdened by sanctions left, right and center, but somehow the people that are trying to make sure their oil doesn't go anywhere, the people that are buying it at a premium.
Go look into the Iranian oil sanctions. Iran was pushing more oil whilst being sanctioned because people wanted oil. Eskom is working again. Still feels strange to say that. But now we have a new problem. Water. Cape Town survived their day 0, but it's now coming for Johannesburg, and all reports suggest it's mostly due to bungling city officials not doing the work. The key point is that for business and private households, water is way harder to solve than power. You can put a generator or a battery or a solar. I suppose you can put a tank as well, but this water story is going to get a horror.
Yeah.
Sounds scary.
It is scary. In our street, every second day, I'm seeing one of those big borehole trucks pulling up, and people are actually starting to sink boreholes because they are frightened. I mean, you can have a big Jojo tank, you can do rainwater harvesting, but it's not going to be enough to withstand, let's say, a 9-day water outage. I mean, in my neighborhood, we had an 11-day water outage at the start of this year. You'll remember people were protesting there by Blegari, by that tractor. That is what we were dealing with. And if this is going to become commonplace, a borehole is your only option, or you need to make sure that you are lobbying the correct people who are lobbying the correct people to actually get this problem sorted out.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing from Chantal is that, you know, our friends that were installing solars not so long ago are now pivoting.
Pivoting boreholes and Jojo tanks.
Look, it's nice to be a Joburger. I mean, I say this in tongue-in-cheek, but I mean, this is this is all part of the structural problems we've been talking about and ranting about on the show, I don't know for how many years. If we just get those, you know, basic needs, right, just get water to the people, electricity to the people and businesses, maybe things would go well in this country. But we seem just to fail on the basics. These are basic needs. We're not asking for, you know, like, we're not asking you guys to, I don't know, build a rocket.
Launch rockets, exactly what I was going to say. Launch rocket. But it's also, my power goes. I mean, you talk about an 11-day outage. I've in the past have had 3-day outages. And at the end of 3 days, I say to my wife, if there's no water in the morning, we're going to a hotel. Yeah. So far it works. There's always water in the morning. And I live in an apartment block with water on the roof. But you can live without power. You can't live without water.
You can't live without water.
We were absolutely overburdening our gym owner who has a borehole during that. And I mean, I have 2 small children.
I know. I did. Yeah. Okay.
It was gross.
Yeah, okay. AGOA talks are ongoing. That 2025 deadline is looming large. Here's CEO of the American Chamber of Commerce in SA, Michelle Constant, sounding all confident.
We do know that AGOA will be renewed, or should be renewed, in 2025. If it is renewed, the question, of course, would it be renewed for South Africa? And there have been some tensions with regards to South Africa and the United States, particularly in political and ideological positions. But I am very hopeful and I'm very sure that it would be fine. And I think we need to remember that AGOA is an opportunity. We talk about American companies, but AGOA is an opportunity for small to medium and large South African companies as well.
And the rest of the continent. Does it matter who wins next month in the US?
It matters a lot.
Oh dear.
Because if it's Harris, I think this proceeds, and she's more global and more encompassing than the more US-centric, US-first Donald Trump. But Trump is saying all the right things currently. He's promising,
promising to cut tax on
cuts,
everything.
You remember, I always say I don't like America because it has the double tax problem. He says the double tax problem is going to disappear. I'm now looking at America. I'm like, maybe there's a career there for me. So that's how big this thing is.
Yeah, but just, with respect, to be blunt, a black immigrant from Africa, Trump is not letting you in.
No, we're definitely going in if there's no double tax problem. We'll find a way.
I mean, AGOA is big and important and really does matter.
It is big, it is important, but it's not that big. I think that when we were initially worried that AGOA wasn't going to be renewed the last time around, I think it's about 2% of SA trade that falls under the AGOA agreement. It's been great for certain small individual businesses. I think that is where the real positive impact comes in. But I think that we're making a big deal out of something that probably won't happen, us losing out on AGOA, and something that really isn't that big, even though it is, nice. 2% is meaningful, it's nice, right? I think with the US election, I don't actually see it mattering that much for South Africa, not as much as you think. I think that the Trump story is also, it's a lot of bluster, it's a lot of politicking, but I don't necessarily see him saying, that country at the southern tip of Africa, I'm coming for you because America first. I don't see it playing out that way.
It doesn't really say we're coming for you, but it's just saying, we want to focus on ourselves first before signing all of these different deals, which is what it did on the last time. Yeah. It was very tough to get him to do anything. And
interestingly, Congress, this goes back 100 years or so, to Tut Hawley gave power of trade agreements to the president, which we know from the Ferris Bueller's Day Off, if you remember the movie. Quick, before break, two things this morning. Robotaxis, Tyla album, do you listen?
Yeah, okay, robotaxis. Remember what happened to the Cybertruck? So I'm just going to calm my, my lungs here and just relax until I see a $25,000, $30,000 robotaxi moving up and down. It's somewhere in San Francisco and maybe in New York.
Well, there is. It's called Waymo.
Well, I was about to say, no, I'm talking about the actual, the Tesla one. So I'll be excited. So for now, yes, we love Tesla, but we know he talks a big game, and then you only see the change starting to move and starting to happen, 8 years down the road or 5 years down the road. Okay.
I think the price point's too low. I think that's been one of the key issues for Tesla's investment case, is they're bringing prices down, which is great. You're trying to stimulate demand, but it's having a massive impact on your gross margins. Yeah. I think $30,000 for an autonomous taxi is too low.
It's insane. Okay. And even saying it will go down as much as $20,000. Yeah. It's crazy. That's just good news for BYD, not Tesla.
Yeah, okay. And neither of you listen to Tyla. After the break, not much happening in markets, but Musk does pay, again, the fine, but into the wrong bank account.